Well, hello again, members of the Pack Nation. We cheer for the greatest football team in all of the universe, the Green Bay Packers. So this video is yet again on the Green Bay Packers. This is on the takeaways from the Aaron Rodgers conference call with members of the Packers media and then some. Obviously, what if you have listened to the press conference, you guys may go and see it on the Packers website. If you have not, I will share a little bit of tidbits from the press conference call in context, to where there has been a range of topics from the media, ranging from the Jordan Love pick to offseason workouts and COVID-19, just getting Aaron's take on the whole situation and matter. Now that the draft is over, we have not heard from Aaron since before the draft, but now we are hearing him post-draft to what he has to say about the whole recent events surrounding him and our beloved Green Bay Packers. So, without further ado, let's get to the takeaways.
Your general reaction, obviously first time publicly stating, when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, what your thoughts were and handling the competition.
Well, I think I was watching the draft. I was watching the feed with A.J. Hawk and Pat McAfee and his boys. And I think, the general reaction at first was surprise, I think, like many people. Obviously I'm not going to say that I was, thrilled by the pick necessarily, but I understand the organization is thinking not only about the present, but about the future. And I respect that. I understand their focus and their mindset, and obviously they thought that he was such a great talent that they needed to go up and get him. So, I was, like I said, generally surprised, but it's what those guys are paid to do, to put together a roster for now and for the future as well.
All right, I'd like to stop it here and pause it really quick and elaborate on this. Aaron acknowledges that this is a business. This is the Packers making a decision for the long term in picking Jordan. He mentioned that he was not really thrilled about the Packers picking Jordan, and the media, the NFL mainstream media, took to Twitter on this, giving reports that he was not thrilled about the selection. Well, why should he be thrilled? How come the media is on Aaron about not being thrilled about the heir apparent being drafted? How come they didn't grill Tom Brady like this, like they're grilling him now? I'm pretty sure he wasn't really happy about Bill Belichick drafting Jimmy Garoppolo to be his successor. I'm pretty sure Joe Montana back in 87 or 86 or whatever year it was, I think it was 87, when Bill Walsh brought in Steve Young. I'm pretty sure Joe Montana was not very happy about that, but it's always about, oh, Aaron's not happy. Oh no, trade him. He's going to be unhappy with the Packers. Got to trade him away. He's pissed off. Give me a break.
Yeah, just to follow up, Aaron, for a moment on Jordan Love. How do you see your role, if any, in helping him develop?
Well, Dennis, I would say the same. It's the same that I've done with all of my backup quarterbacks, and I feel great about those relationships that I've developed over the years. Many of them are still really close friends. I consider Matt Flynn a very close friend. I still have great contact with, a lot of guys I've played with over the years, from more recent to Deshaun and Manny, to Tim and I are really close. Brett Hundley and I keep in touch all the time. Scotty Tolzien and I, talk from time to time. So I've had great relationships over the years with those guys, and expect to have the same type of relationship with Jordan. He didn't get asked to be drafted by the Packers. There's nothing, he's not to blame at all. He's just coming in excited about his opportunity. We had a great conversation the day after the draft, and I'm excited to work with him. He seems like a really good kid with his good head on his shoulders, and similar story, not heavily recruited out of college, and kind of made his way at Utah State, and we've had some good conversations.
Well, you heard that, folks. Aaron Rodgers has actually had some really good relationships with his backup quarterbacks, and he remains friends with most of them and talks to them quite frequently. How about that? He's such a horrible, horrible teammate. He's going to be so hard on Jordan Love. He's not going to take him under his wing. He's not going to be a mentor. He's gonna go up to him and say, "Hey, kid, I am the man here. It's not my job to mentor you, you dumb, stupid kid." Like the media wants to paint Aaron Rodgers out to be this big jerk of a football player who won't do something, who is thinking that Jordan is going to be his enemy or something like that.
Hey, Aaron, hope you're doing well. I know we've all heard you say you wanted to finish your career as a Packer even beyond your current contract. Do you think this pick affects that in any way, and is that still your plan to do that?
Well, I think what it does is just reinforce kind of the adage that you can only control what you can control, and it's always been a mantra for myself. And I think any great athlete, there's things that are just out of our control. That obviously is something that's very important to me, but I think is definitely telling at this point that is truly something that's out of my control. What I can't control is how I play, and making that decision at some point a very hard one. If I were to retire on the organization's timetable, then it's an easy decision. But if there comes a time where I still feel like I can play at a high level and my body feels great, then there's other guys have gone on and played elsewhere.
Thanks, Tom, and Aaron. Thanks for sharing some time with us today. No Jimmy Graham, no Geronimo Allison. What do you have to get out of your perimeter group that is returning?
Well, I think there's some interesting things to look at. I think you look at the development of a guy like Alan Lazard, what he did last year, and his versatility. He's a guy who's cut at the end of training camp and then quickly put back on the roster, I think week 1 maybe. And by the end of the season, he was called upon many, many times in important situations to make big plays, and he did. He's just a great teammate, an ascending player. Loved his approach every week, and he made some big time plays for us. I'm excited about getting EQ back from injury and seeing how he feels. He really made some great strides his rookie year, especially towards the end of the season, making plays for us and just kind of growing each week. He's got a great approach to the game. It'll be fun to see him healthy. MVS is a guy who I have a ton of confidence in. I really feel like that if he can continue to grow, that he can really add to our football team, and I look for him to make big strides. And then Jake Kumaro, obviously, as well. Such a steady guy. I've been a big fan of his since the first time I threw a ball to him, I think, and just love his approach to the game. Now, the tight end position, I was really excited to see Big Dog come back, because I think he not only adds such a great presence to our run blocking scheme, but to our locker room. He's just a consummate professional, a fantastic leader for our football team, and bringing him back was an important part, I think, to shoring up that room. Obviously, we saw with Jace at the end of the season, giving him some opportunities. We're going to be expecting things from him and Bobby Tonyan as well, and we drafted a young kid in the 3rd round as well. So I think I like the way that's looking. Obviously, this is a different off season, and not many of us, myself, I have, but not many of us have gone through an off season where you're not really together physically. We've managed it in 2011, and I think with these Zoom meetings and the installs we've been doing, I think we're going to be ready to go whenever that time comes, but it'll be kind of an accelerated learning curve for especially those young guys who are expected to play.
Hi, Aaron. Going back to the quarterback being drafted, I know you've always had plenty of intrinsic motivation, but you're also the guy that remembered the Purdue coach's letter about good luck at your attempt at a college football career. You know all the teams that passed on you in the draft. You remember your Cal professor laughing at your plans to be an NFL player. I'm wondering what this selection and the scenario that it's created does to motivate you in terms of the competitor that you are, and how you use that as motivation in addition to your internal motivation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Jason. I think think I've never really needed a ton of external motivation. You always maybe look for one or two things at different times in your career that kind of fire you up. For me, and I've said this at my locker many times, the main motivation is to be able to have consistent play as you get on in years. And as Mike used to always say, the most important thing for a quarterback is your legs. And when the legs go, it's just tough to play, especially the way that I like to play. But I think the great thing for me from a physical standpoint is that last year I felt amazing, and I've kind of really figured out how to get my body in peak performance shape. And this off season has really allowed me to get a ton of work on my body and to do my workouts. That's what I focus on. That's really my motivation is to give myself physically the opportunity to play as long as I want to play, and that's going to be my continued motivation.
Rob Domofsky, go ahead.
Hey, Aaron, have you been able to throw at all? I don't know if you've been able to be around any of the guys. Normally at this time you'd be doing some throwing, I would imagine. What has the workout routine been like for you where you're at?
Yeah, there's a couple guys out here that I've been able to throw to a couple times a week, so I'm definitely keeping my arm in shape. You know, the first couple weeks of the off season, there's not really any throwing, but I wanted to make sure by the time that May hit that I was into my normal throwing routine. So I've been ramping that up and getting those opportunities to do that with some of the guys, professional guys who live out in the Los Angeles area.
Dave Schrader, go ahead.
Hi, Aaron. Hope all is well. When you look at your relationship with Brett Favre, he mentioned he had a conversation with you recently. He didn't go into the details of what you talked about. He did mention you were surprised by the draft. As you look at things turning from how they were over a decade ago now, how does it feel to be in this position? And do you also look at other historic case studies, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, to kind of see what the next few years might be like and how you could approach that all?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I think just based on the age in which, you know, I was and Brett was when I was drafted and comparatively to me and Jordan, there are similarities to that. I think there's a lot of things that aren't similar, though, when you look at the two situations as far as Brett's mindset during, you know, the 03 and 04 seasons. And, you know, obviously my statements about a strong desire, a real desire to play into my 40s and the way I feel about the game and my body and my love of the sport. But I do see some similarities, and I understand that why they're drawn in that effect. I think, you know, I learned a lot over those years working with Brett, things that I can bring to the relationship with Jordan, and just understanding the mindset. You know, I went through it as a young 21, 22, 23-year-old playing with my idol as a teammate, and I'll definitely take those lessons with me. And like I said before, I've always had great relationships with my backups and always loved helping those guys out. And in any way, you know, the more questions they have, the more answers I have. And I've really, truly embraced those relationships, and it'll be the same with Jordan.
Olivia Reiner, go ahead.
Hey, Aaron. You mentioned at the end of last season that the offense didn't get to tap into everything that Matt LaFleur had envisioned for the offense, just generally speaking. From these early meetings, what are the expectations as far as what's still out there for the team offensively?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's just a lot of things that based on where we at in the season, the personnel, some of the injuries that we had, and just some of the stuff that we got in as we're blending kind of some of the things that Matt loves to do with a few of the things that I have done well over the years. You know, this has been a great opportunity to kind of go back and really fine-tune everything, go through everything we did last year, what was good, what didn't work, what we want to add to it, what we want to take out. I think Matt and Nathaniel have done a really good job of going through those and keeping me in the loop about conversations. We've had a number of conversations about these installs, and I feel really good about where they're at. Expectations-wise, I think it's too early to make some prognostications about our squad because there's moving pieces. We have new guys to the mix. We have added Devin to the mix. It'll be fun to see where he's at physically and from his football IQ. We've had some really good conversations, him and I. It'll be fun to see, like I said, EQ come back and see what he can add to the offense. Seeing Jason year 2. Obviously Aaron Jones had a fantastic year last year, bringing him back. We drafted a young running back in the second round. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And when you don't have that physical off season, I think it's too early to make any type of expectations or predictions about who's going to be playing where, what type of roles, or exactly what we're going to do until we see the abilities of some of these guys that we brought in and see kind of the jumps that we have from guys in years 2 and 3.
Mike Clemens, go ahead.
The way the season came together, and by December on all 3 phases, the health of the team, a decisive win over Seattle, and I think after the 49ers game, you explained that, I thought we had something special here. I think that was an accurate description. So on the plane ride home from Santa Clara, I wonder if you and your teammates are wondering, man, how much farther do we have to go, or how much more is it going to take? And have you visualized what it might be to have to play football in an empty stadium?
Yeah. I think the prevailing sentiment on the ride home was obviously disappointment, but there was mixed in a real satisfaction about what we accomplished. I think maybe different in other years past, where you just felt really good about the guys that we had and the way we came together during the season. There was a lot of pride in the performance and the results, for sure. To your second question, I haven't let my mind go there at that point. I know there's been a lot of conversation about it. It would be definitely a weird situation to not have any fans in the stands, and I hope that's not the reality.
Hey, Aaron, Matt Reynolds with WFRB in Green Bay. The front office coaching staff said after the draft they didn't think any receivers in the later rounds could beat out any of the guys in the current roster. How much motivation do you think a vote of confidence like that gives this receivers room?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot. I do. For them to not pick a guy early on, to me, says they really like our guys and have faith in them. I mentioned a lot of those guys earlier, and I think it all starts with Devontae and his abilities. He's just such a dynamic player. When you have a dynamic guy like that, he opens up the field for the rest of the guys. Where that's where you saw guys like Alan Lazard, making big strides. You saw Jake make plays. You saw MVS have games where he was a big factor for us. Like I said, I'm excited about seeing EQ back in the mix. And then adding Devin, who's a veteran guy who's made plays in the league for a number of years and is hungry coming in. I feel really good about that group, and obviously the front office did as well.
Hey, Aaron, just wanted to circle back to something you said earlier, just about, you said you were not necessarily thrilled with the pick. I'm just curious, is that because it was a quarterback that might one day replace you, or just that you wanted a weapon, to help put you guys over the edge?
I think it's more, it was more the surprise of the pick based on my own feelings of wanting to play into my 40s, and then really the realization that it does change the controllables a little bit, because as much as I feel confident in my abilities and what I can accomplish and what we can accomplish, there are some new factors that are out of my control. And so my, sincere desire to start and finish with the same organization, just as it has with many other players over the years, may not be a reality at this point. And as much as I understand the organization's future outlook and wanting to make sure they're thinking about the team now and down the line, and I respect that. At the same time, I still believe in myself and have a strong desire to play into my 40s, and I'm just not sure how that all works together at this point.
Okay, I'd like to stop it right here at a pretty close to the 20-minute mark. so that way this doesn't go on forever and ever. So I'd like to thank those that actually watched this whole video through its entirety. I know it's a lot to go over, where Aaron is talking about a whole lot of things, and some of it might be a little bit tiresome at times, but at least some of the questions that the media was going to ask were out, and now that Aaron has responded to them, I wanted to be able to get all of these media questions done in context. Go Pack Go, and I'll catch you guys later for another video.